Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going back to the pile of shame and going to my Kill Daka box set that I got for Christmas 2021 and knocking out these Nobz. Yeah, as a good refreshing break from everything else. So I assemble them up to the point that they get in the way of painting, which the arms are separate, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Head is fully assembled, legs and body is fully assembled. Their back banners are assembled as well onto them. And I prime it all with this Rust-Oleum. It's basically a outside car paint that is good on plastics and doesn't harm them, and can work in random temperatures and humidities. And then here are all the paints that I used. And now with Dawnstone, Padded Witch Flesh, and White Scar White, we're going to do the pre-coating. So with Dawnstone, this is going to be the dark color coming from underneath. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. I use an airbrush, spray it from underneath, get rid of the black, then I take Padded Witch Flesh and spray it from up above, creating like light and dark values. And then with White Scar White, I dry brush all over to pick out the edges and fine details. And this is mostly for a guide. What I'm doing is basically, this kit I'm going to do a lot of speed painting. That's what it's going to be mostly focused on. And now with Orc Flesh and Lamian Medium, we create a wash and apply it all over the skin, and it shows the undercoating and highlighting. Alright, with indigo hue and mineral spirits mixed together, create it into a wash, a little bit of a thick wash, and then I apply it all over the skin. And then once it rapidly dries, I then take a makeup sponge and I'll wipe it all over. And with this, then I go back and with a little bit more diluted Indian hue wash, I then apply it into specific areas, certain parts of their face, eyes, elbows, arms and stuff. Basically, I'm painting direct shadows in there for the ink or the oil paint to fill in. And now with Thondia Brown, Karak Stone, Ushtabi Bone, and Screaming Skull, we're going to paint the teeth. So with Thondia Brown, we're going to paint the inside of their mouths. Only one really has an open mouth, but the rest you can kind of see the gums. Then we're going to paint each tooth completely with Karak Stone. Then we're going to paint the front half of it with Ushtabi Bone. And then we'll finish off with a thin line of Screaming Skull on basically the top of the cylinder of each teeth and the tip of each tooth. And with magenta oil paint, we're going to apply a little bit along their lips and like their eyes and some of their ears, and then take a makeup sponge and dab 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 and remove it, and this creates a soft pinkish flesh there. This is a back and forth artistic thing. Apply, wipe away, apply, tap tap tap, wipe away until you get the color you want. So it's a pinkish lightish flesh around the certain areas, and then a purple lips-ish around their lips. And now with Corn Red and Troll Slayer Orange, we're going to paint the eyes. Since their eyes are so tiny, we're going to go with high contrast. So we're going to fill in the eye slots with Corn Red, and then we're going to do a thin tiny dot of Troll Slayer Orange in the center. I probably could have gone lighter, like a brighter yellow instead of orange, and it would stand out more, but... And now with Karak Stone and Lamian Medium mixed together to make a wash, we're going to apply it all over their pants. And that's about it. Alright, with Burnt Umber and Mineral Spirits, we're going to create a wash, a bit of a thicker wash, and we're going to apply it all over the pants. Then we're going to wipe them away once they dry. And then we're going to take the stuff again, and we're going to place it into recesses, folds, and stuff like that. We're going to spot apply. And then finally at the very end, it's not as good, and so I dilute the Burnt Umber with more Mineral Spirits, make it into a thin wash, and reapply it all over, and sort of evens it out and helps it a bit. Now, with Dawnstone and Lamian Medium, I'm going to create a wash and apply it all over their shirts. These shirts are going to be black-ish, so I want to start off with a gray for highlights. And then with lamp black, we apply a wash of it onto all the stuff we painted gray. But it was too thin, so I reapplied a much thicker wash, and that was okay. And then I wiped a little bit along the edges and stuff, and it was so-so. And now with XV88, we're going to paint this all along their suspenders, belts, and boots. And then with burnt umber mixed with a little bit of lamp black and mineral spirits to create a wash, we apply this to everything we did that was XV88. And then once it dries, we do a quick wipe with a makeup sponge. And now with Corvus Black, we're just going to use this to paint their nails. Alright, so take a look at the models. I want to talk about these things. So first off, you'll notice that there's like skull, the beast skull there done, and some other things done here and there. So these models are a type of model kit that I'd like to point out is very individualistic. These are all characters, essentially. They have so many random things, random bits, random bobs a part of them, because, I mean, it fits the orc style and culture and stuff. And it's just so much randomness that this video would take forever if I went over every single detail. So I'm going over the more important ones that everyone has. And this is also speed paint. If looking at the picture right now, you will see what, with the least amount of effort, well, a little bit of focus on their faces, but with the least amount of effort, this is what they could look like very quickly, very easily. These could essentially be done with the non-metallic metals, just looking at them. They're okay, they're fine. Their faces have the most detail, teeth, lips and stuff had the most effort put on them. But this is like just pure speed painting. You could consider these guys done, the non-metal parts done, and just move on from here. But I'm going to apply a little bit of detail on a few of the things and move on from there. But this is what they would look like if you wanted to do just pure speed painting from here. Nurgling green for the skin. So the highlights of the skin underneath are the white coat from White Scar White, and so this color is very bright and will help match it. And what we use this for is applying it to areas where the wash may not have been evenly applied. It just happens sometimes, to put some focus or color definition on some areas where it may be a little murky, or just paint straight lines to add structure to the model's appearance. And now with XV88, we're going to go back to all the leather straps, boots and belts and stuff like that, and just highlight the edges of each strap, any folds and stuff, edges of the boots and such, and slightly fill in some open flat parts of the boots, the back parts, if they're in the way of sunlight. Make sure to water down the paint so that it flows well and also transitions well. It's a little bit translucent so it flows better and is more easy to blend in with the background. And with Nuln Oil, they're sure it's not black enough, so apply this to darken it further. Alright, with AK Interact Ultra Matte Varnish, all the non-metals are done, so I'm applying this to seal it in. I don't know how good of a seal it is, but it really does saturate the colors, gets rid of all the shine, and makes the models look better. And I didn't do the pants because I completely forgot, but they look good enough. Alright, moving on to the metals. With Vallejo acrylic colors, exhaust manifold, Corvus black, and I forgot to actually show a picture of another metal I used, which is duraluminum. But basically, exhaust manifold is a dark metal, but it's not dark enough, so I mix Corvus black in it to make it darker, and then duraluminum is just basically a bright silver. So essentially what I do is I get exhaust manifold, make it darker as a black metal, and apply it on every single piece of metal they have, from their boots, pieces of armor, shoulder pads, banners, things like that, belt buckles, knee pads, stuff like that. I apply onto there. Then I dry brush the pure exhaust manifold on because it's bright enough to be picked up a little bit. Sometimes I use overbrush because it leaves like streaks onto the metal, and that's fine. And then I do sort of a one-to-one with exhaust manifold and duraluminum and apply it in straight lines on some areas and some overbrushing here and there. And then I use pure duraluminum on some of the more raised areas and such. Alright, it's a little bit too bright and clean, so with Nuln Oil, pure Nuln Oil, not mixed with anything else, we apply this all over the metal. And now with Seraph Sepia, I apply this to places where I want the metal to be bronze-like. It didn't work. Alright, with Hashut Copper, Seraph Sepia, and Full Dried Copper, we're going to do the brass parts. So basically, Hashut is a slightly darker brass. You can apply it all over the places with brass. Some of them have bullets hanging from like their necks and stuff, and one has a brass banner and stuff. Then we're going to cover it in pure Seraph Sepia because this is pretty bright. Well, not that thick, so no point to dilute it. And then we're going to go back with Hashut Copper, and we're just going to overbrush on a lot of the upper, more raised areas, or on this flat metal plate. Just apply bits of it here and there to add some shine back to it and add some color differentiation. And then we're going to do the same thing with Full Dried Copper with a very light overbrushing on all the brass pieces and a little touches here and there on the big brass plate that guy has. Initially I tried to do it the wash way well, speed painting, that was my focus, but sometimes shortcuts really don't make things faster, they actually make things harder. And so you have to know when a shortcut is actually going to work and when just doing it the old-fashioned way is faster, better, and more controllable. And with Castellix Bronze, I apply this into all the scratches, cuts, and bullet holes on the metal. This was wrong. I should have used a much darker metal than this. Alright, with Ulthuan Grey, Corvus Black, and a .25mm micron pen, I'm going to paint the checkerboards that you see on Goffs. And let me tell you, this was easy and fast. I thought this step was going to take hours. This took probably just 15 minutes or something. So I took Ulthuan Grey, which is a very strong cover paint. You can apply this onto pure black with enough thick of a layer, and it completely covers it up. So this is a good foundation for bright colors when you go from black to white. And so then with a micron pen, I just drew the lines, the squares, and then I filled them, some of the squares with the Corvus Black, like odd numbered, and that was it. It was actually really easy to do. This was very fast and easy. The squares were very easy to do. The micron pen made this very easy. These micron pens come in many different colors. Mine is black, so if I wanted to do different colored squares or different colored imagery or emblems, I should probably get some different colored micron pens and paint different colors on. Alright, with exhaust manifold and duraluminum, which is basically a dark metal and a bright silver metal, we're going to paint the claws on the, well, power claws, because I accidentally forgot to do them. So I'm actually becoming a fan of this painting metal highlights onto other colors. I started that with the Demon Prince of Nurgle, but it's working really good here. So the claws are black, essentially, and I take the exhaust manifold and I overbrush, which is very close to dry brush, streaks onto them. And I do the same thing, but less with the duraluminum, and it works pretty well. It probably would have been better if I used a smaller brush, so the streaks would have been thinner and more controllable, but it looks good. Like beat up, scratched up metal. I then proceed to assemble all the models together, and onto some bases. And done. This was a speed paint project, and overall I'm gonna have to give myself a, I'm gonna say 6 out of 10. So this was me purely doing speed painting. This was me trying to get them out as fast as possible. Some shortcuts ended up taking much longer. The squares, that was surprisingly easy to do. Micro pen for the win. Few small problems here and there. Now, I'm talking about these models. So these Nobz models have a lot of character and stuff in them. 2 of them have bones and skulls in them. Some have teeth hanging around their neck. Others have, well, these plumes. And all these ridiculous small details. And so models like this are a bit difficult. They take a lot of time because you have to go out of your way and you have to paint this one detail this one guy has. So a lot of people really don't throw on all the special options, bells and whistles that these characters could have and stuff. It's because it's too tedious and stuff. And I kind of agree as well. I mean, sure, it allows for a lot of cool customization for your models and characters. And I was doing a speed paint, so I wanted to do this like generally as fast as possible. I didn't do the pants yet because I kind of forgot, but they looked good enough. The Goths are a dark, they're basically the black and white knight. But these guys, I don't have that much experience with painting certain metal or certain things. It's like, I don't have a clear image in my head of what it should be. And so it suffered a bit. Here and there, some things are better than others, but these models are sort of a mess to organize and paint. There's a lot of individualisticness, but I will say the skin is great, the metal is passable, the squares are good first try, they're a quick try. If I wanted to make them better, I would highlight the Ulthuan Grey squares with a little bit of Pallid Witch Flesh in their corners to make them brighter. The black as well, add some gray in there to add some highlights into the squares and stuff to make them more brighter. The guns, I have no image in my head for them, so I can't envision what to do with them, or like how to do it. The brass was a waste of time. I messed up, essentially. So, yeah, apart from that, the skin is incredible. The armor is okay. The rest of their doodads and stuff are okay, but I'll put this at a 6. Possibly could be a 7, but it just feels like the skin is a 10. The rest kind of go down from it, and these guys are pretty good, but they're not great. But this is a pure speed painting. I wasn't going to fuss over all the details. I was going to try to make them great in the first place. But for speed paint, I would say they're on a 6 out of 10. You could probably say 7, but their bases are just meh. They're just okay. Yeah, I have no real idea of what to paint their bases or make their bases. Bases is the one thing that really do elude me, except in the few rare moments of just genius, like when I did Votann, or the Custodes, or the Slanesh Demonettes. So, alright, so one more bit of the pile gone. Great accomplishment getting back into it. However, I completely undid all of that by getting the Wrath of the Soul Forge King box set. So, one step forward, about 5 steps back, or actually 6 steps back. I think there's like 6 kits in there. So, I mean, the pile of shame is ever changing, ever growing, ever shrinking. Not shrinking that much, mostly growing. But yeah, so like the video if you like the video, comment if you want to comment, share it if you want to share it, and more to come. I don't know when Orks are coming on next. I still have 20 of those boys. I probably will save them if I ever want to make my own Ork army, because I ain't gonna bother painting them up unless they're for me. Yeah, so see you when I see you. Bye.